Okay, now, if this final so-called pope, if his name is not Peter and he's Roman, does that mean that the entire prophecy is wrong?
No. In fact, the next pope might be named Peter the Roman. In fact, the Secretary of State, who's in the middle of all this chaos right now, his name literally is Tarcisio Pietro, or Peter Bertoni, who was born in Romano. So if he wound up being the next pope, he would be a shocking fulfillment.
I see what you mean.
But that doesn't have to happen for a couple of reasons. First of all, because every pope is, in a sense, the next Peter. They're the latest Peter in the line. They all sit on the throne of Peter. So any pope could be thought of as the latest Peter in the line. All you would have to have is an Italian to be voted in as the next pope for this fulfillment of this prophecy to be Peter the Roman.
If someone, of course, is not a Catholic, and there are many who are not, and they're listening to this broadcast right now, and they might say, all right, so this is the last pope, big deal. So what? What's it mean to me? How do you answer that?
Yeah, I would say I said exactly the same thing. In fact, a couple of years ago, I did a show with you after my book, Apollyon Rising 2012 came out. There's one paragraph in that whole book that just mentions the prophecy of the popes. I mean, I was completely aware of it, but for me, I had a real so what, who cares? I don't put any stock in this prophecy, but because it might unfold in the year 2012, and at that time there was a lot more people talking about the end of the Mayan calendar, the year 2012, and so I put it in a list of other things that were pointing towards the potential significance of the year 2012. But here's what happened, and I won't make this story long. In fact, I'll just make it a few words here. I was speaking at a conference, and I was talking to my staff in between lectures in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and I said, something that amazes me is that the prophecy of the popes is coming to an end, and nobody has written a book or anything really on this since, your friend that's come on there a few times, he wrote a book a decade ago talking about the prophecy of the popes, but since him, you know who I'm talking about?
Malachi Martin.
No, Hogue.
John Hogue.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
He wrote his book, and it was something like in the year 2000 or something, and but he hadn't updated it, and so I was just real curious. How come nobody is talking about the fact that at a minimum there is a great deal of historicity around the fact that we have this 900-year-old prophecy coming to an end? Well, so I talked to them. I went back to my motel room. You'll like this. And I click on my emails, and here I have an email from Chris Putnam, who is he is a Protestant. He's a theologian. He's an apologist. He wants to know if he can use that one sentence out of that whole book, Apollyon Rising, on the prophecy of the popes. So the coincidence was startling. We got to talking. One thing led to the other. And I was just advised by Barnes & Noble that if my distributor had not been late in letting them know this book was available, it would have hit the New York Times bestsellers list this week. So there's
good for you.
Huge amount of interest in the subject matter, and it was just very strange to me that nobody had written the book. Now, once we got to doing the research, I have to tell you, there were several times, George, I mean, we literally stopped dead in our tracks. There was some spooky, preternatural stuff that started unfolding as we were doing this research over the last year that we can talk about tonight, and you can tell me what you think the mathematical probabilities around this stuff is. But, so anybody who would say, why would I care, maybe hopefully by the end of this interview tonight, maybe they'll get what happened to us that then made us care.
Pope Benedict the 16th is 85 years old. How is his health? Do we know?
Well, in a way we do. He's being wheeled around on a cart everywhere he's going right now. He is being assisted upstairs and on a couple of occasions carried upstairs. He himself in his own book has stated that if his health gets to a point where he can no longer conduct the daily business of the papacy, that he is a theologian for the church, so he has argued theologically that it would be okay for him to step down so that somebody else could take his place.